It's a lockdown period, you have vacant units, and you're wondering how quickly can you get back on top of this and get your units booked out. And this is exactly what I'm going to share with you, a whole range of creative strategies to make this work so that you can come out of this not only surviving, but thriving. I'll see you on the other side. So we are in lockdown, and for many South Africans and people and Airbnb hosts around the world, we're sitting there thinking, what can I do about my Airbnb unit? You have no income at the moment. You're not sure when the lockdown period is going to end or the self-isolation period is going to end. And then we keep thinking, well, very few people are going to start traveling over the next few months. So this is going to be a slow process to get back on top of our Airbnb listing. But that doesn't have to be that way. We can actually use some creative strategies to position ourselves so that we become the first choice of anyone who is looking for an accommodation, whether temporary or future long-term. And this is what I really want to share with you at this moment. You know, when our president said to us here in South Africa that we had literally 3 days or 4 days to get ready for a lockdown period, that night I went straight to my listings and I changed it, I retargeted it so that it would attract someone who is looking for a safe lockdown. My title, Reduced Rates for a Safe Lockdown, immediately took traction, and I had a whole lot of inquiries asking if they could stay at my units for the 21 days. Because of course, people are needing to stay somewhere, locked down for 21 days. The people who were traveling, the people who were stuck in South Africa and couldn't leave, all of these people needed a place to stay. Sometimes it could be someone who also wanted to self-isolate away from their families, but either way, people were looking for opportunities to lock down safely. And myself and all of my students, we quickly turned this around and everyone managed to fill up their units for that 21-day period. This is the entrepreneurial creativity that resides in us to solve the problem that the world out there is needing. And this is exactly what we're going to do now in looking forward to say, as we come out of the lockdown period, how can we be supplying a demand that we're going to be seeing to actually make this work even better for ourselves and obviously provide value for the people in our communities. So let's just put our entrepreneurial thinking hats on. Who are the people that are most likely going to be moving around or looking for a place to stay after lockdown? Well, first and foremost, we know that it will just be general people who are now working, have access to different locations, and they're needing a safe place to stay. So number one, it's going to be just the everyday person out there. That's right, the everyday person out there who may be going back to work but doesn't want to come back to their family for the risk of maybe infecting their family. So they're going to be wanting a temporary stay, and they're most likely going to be wanting this for a period of longer than just a few days. So it could be from a week to a month. So we can adapt our Airbnb listings to actually start targeting those people and attracting them such that it actually gets them in and booked up first. Secondly, it is also just people who are choosing to self-isolate. They want to remain a social distance away from somewhere else and be in a smaller place where they can actually kind of hole up and just refocus on what's important. You'll also have people who used to go to large office spaces, but now, due to the social distancing, which will still probably be there, at least as a perception and as a choice, that they don't want to go into an open office where they're in continuous contact with a large workforce. So they might actually be choosing to go into a smaller place, and this could actually be something exactly like that. Your unit could become a temporary office for someone, again, for a few weeks or a few months. They could work from home, but there's distractions. Family is there. They're not productive. So they may be wanting to look for somewhere else where they can be alone and they can focus. And that may precisely be what is also wanting for your Airbnb unit. There are also people who just want to carry on or move into a different space, a kind of nomadic traveler, but there are people who are going to be wanting to go somewhere and perhaps just settle down for a period of time that's slightly longer. One of my choices is, wouldn't it be fantastic to actually go and book a beautiful beachfront Airbnb for 2 weeks or 3 weeks and carry on living my life there, as opposed to feeling that I have to just keep moving or stay locked in one place. So make no mistake, there will be people out there, travelers who are very mobile, who may want to actually stay longer and will be looking for Airbnb hosts that have adjusted their prices to accommodate the longer stays. Another option that could be really significant is the older generation who might be in the assisted living places where there is a crowd of elderly people, and it could be that you've got a parent that actually lives in one of those, resides in one of those, and you don't want your elderly parent to stay in the same vicinity as a mass or a whole lot, 30, 40, 50, 80, 100 other elderly people, because of the chance of your parent getting it. And of course, with elderly or with lung sensitivity, this could be the challenge. So those people may be taking their parents out and are looking for an Airbnb close to your home where they can have independence. This is their parents, but at the same time close enough for them to check on them. One of the other options, of course, is that with your Airbnb, you could also provide assisted support, such as you can go and buy groceries and drop them off. So if someone is self-isolating and can't go out and doesn't have family living by, you might be able to add that into your description that you're willing to buy stuff, leave it by the door, and the self-isolating person is going to just pick it up and then eat. There's a whole range of extra services that you could add onto this, and obviously have it in your description, which would really attract that person who is looking for assisted support, even if it is that they themselves are just wanting to isolate. This is not just specific to the elderly now. We're talking about if I get it and I want to be away from my family, I'm going to go into some unit. And Airbnb is the best option because I don't want to go somewhere and take out a 6-month lease. I want somewhere where I can self-isolate for 1 month. But if I have the disease and I've tested positive, or I have the symptoms and I want to quarantine myself, I'm going to need support. And if I live in a different city than my family, or I don't have that network, I'm going to want to have some assistance. And wouldn't it be great if my landlord could say or offered that every 3 days they would go out and buy on my behalf and then leave it by my front door so that I could just collect it and therefore stay at home in the Airbnb unit, but still actually have those other facilities. So there's a real opportunity I see that's going to be marked in helping people who are self-quarantining. We are going to see an increase in cases. We need to be able to be proactive to support those people stay in their self-quarantine. And Airbnb is going to be the perfect space for that to happen. So we've got all these different scenarios that we can see playing themselves out of who our potential clients or guests may be. So how do we set ourselves up to attract those? So let's just first and obviously go through a couple of your listing variables that you can do. First and foremost, change your title. You can change your title not to go around saying Corona, because that's just going to infringe on the Airbnb policy. But you can certainly say, like we did, reduced rates for a safe lockdown period. You could say the same thing, 1 month reduced rates for helping you stay safe. So the title immediately changes what's going on. This is the fascinating thing about South Africa, and I would actually probably presume in many parts of the world, is many people are actually not thinking like this. They are sitting back thinking that Airbnb is just holiday rental, where the rates are high and per day. But this is really the opportunity to restructure that, pivot, so that you can actually position yourself, because trust me, you're going to be far ahead of anyone else who's thinking about this. You're going to be far ahead than anyone else in being strategic around this. Your pricing will push you right to the front. You'll get traction. You'll therefore get views. This is going to increase the algorithm to actually push you up higher onto the Airbnb listings, and you're going to stand out. Everything for me in the Airbnb listing process that I work with myself, with my coaching students, is to stand out above your competition so that you are the guest's first choice. So there we go. Definitely change the title. Change the description of your listing so it describes more around actually what you're wanting to do. We provide a place for you to self-isolate that is thoroughly and hygienically clean beforehand. We can also help you with delivery of essential foods and goods, a whole lot of different things that could be there to let this guest know that you are taking into account the current situation and have adapted and can provide a value add to your guest. That's what's going to make the difference. It doesn't have to be flashy. It's just showing that you have that this situation in mind and are adapting to really provide that. One of the first things that I also look at doing, if on the listing, you have your main cover listing, and then you often have 4 other photographs that show up in that main page. Make sure you're putting a hygienic picture. And what I mean there is someone who's cleaning the countertop or has got disinfectant and spraying. People want to know that you as the host are making sure that your units are clean as possible, and that you're actually going above and beyond what would normally be expected. So that immediately, if you go to see any of my listings, or you go and you look at a listing that has or shows actual spraying disinfectants and an extra effort on cleaning, then this is going to make the difference. In one of my listings, I actually state we clean all the door handles, all the light fittings, all the cupboards, all the windows, all the window frames, all the window handles. We specifically go around disinfecting all of those, and I mention it. I want my guests to know that I'm going way above what is traditionally expected to ensure that their safety is my primary concern. The next thing is you've got to drop your rates. This means that you're going to come up as first choice amongst all the other people out there, because this is going to be a price war. People are uncertain about where we're going in the future of our communities. We're not knowing about the retrenchments. We're not knowing how long this period may actually make a difference. So everyone is going to tighten their belts, and a lot is going to be driven by price. So we want to again make sure that when the price issue comes up, compared to your competitors, you are the first choice. If you're really considering that Airbnb is a short-term letting platform where they usually have higher rates than a long-term let, there is a lot of scope that when you now have someone coming for a week, 2 weeks, or what we're proposing is a month, that those rates come down to actually be equivalent to a monthly rent on another long-term let. And in that way, you will straight away stand out, because everyone out there is not doing anything. I had a look on all the listing sites today, and people are still saying per day their rate is, and it's a standard one. They're still saying, come and have a holiday at our unit. Perfect place on the beach for your vacation. They're not adapting to what people are going to be looking for. Right? People aren't going to be looking for the most expensive holiday unit that they can go and rent out per day. People don't want to travel. They want to probably do it close by. So this is going to really differentiate you by making sure your prices are incredibly competitive. And you know what? If you're taking this action now, you're going to be setting yourself up for success, because no one else is doing this. You're going to get the first wave of people who are going to be looking for this, and that's going to make the massive difference to you. Of course, you can also list your unit on other platforms like booking.com, Lekkerslaap. You can actually expand out in an age of today. Loyalty to one platform is no longer the case. This is about your profit or your survival or you making it through. So certainly get a channel manager. A channel manager is one that makes sure that if you have multiple platforms that you're using for the same unit, that you don't get double bookings. You don't want to have a listing on Airbnb and the same listing on booking.com, and then suddenly you realize, someone's booked here and they're booked on booking.com, and then you've got a clash, because then that's going to really mess up your credibility as a host, because you're going to have to cancel and it gets messy. So a channel manager, of which there are quite a few out there, actually allow you to navigate and coordinate all the multiple listings, the multiple calendars in a seamless way. And of course, in my space, I totally automate this. I automate everything from sending messages to check-in to following up on the reviews. All of that is automatically done through messaging and different platforms, and it is fantastic, makes a massive difference. You can also then list your places on like Gumtree, Property24, or any other rental platform out there that may not only be Airbnb. Remember, if you're going to say, I've got a unit for 1 month, you don't have to do it on Airbnb. You can actually do this anywhere else. And my suggestion is you actually test it. Go onto Gumtree, list your place. You've got great photographs, right? I mean, you should be having professional photographs for your Airbnb unit in any case. List it. Have a look what the responses are. Say, unit available from the 1st of May for monthly rental during our challenging situations at the moment. Those are all ways in which you can start testing if there is interest. You don't have to take those tenants yet. This is just about testing, right? And of course, if it looks like it could actually work, then you can sign the leases and get it sorted. But there's no point in waiting, then being desperate, and then scrambling, because everyone's going to be scrambling at the same time. This is your opportunity by listening to this to be proactive and really make a massive difference. In chatting about looking for the slightly longer term rental, consider another subset of people. Let's say that a family has just sold their home and it has finally come to transfer and they needed to move out at the 1st of April. But now, due to the the difference in their ability to finance a new home, because maybe they've got retrenched, or maybe there's some challenge the banks don't quite know how they're going to manage this because some of them are closed. This person or this family is going to need a place to stay, but they don't want to yet buy another house because it still will take a couple of months to transfer and to get into occupation. So they're going to be looking for a place to stay. And this could be whether it's single, a couple, or family. If your unit can be adapted, you might find that you can get someone perfectly for those 2 or 3 months. So make no mistake, your clients, your guests that you're looking for are not just limited to the travelers and the people working or the people who are looking for short-term lets. They may be looking for something more. Consider as well that someone has sold their house. They need to move out. They're not ready to move somewhere else. They're not ready to buy somewhere else because they know that the residential market is going to come down and be a more buyer's market as people start feeling this crunch and actually will have to sell their homes to stay alive. That means the home prices are going to come down. That means an astute buyer is going to sit and wait for a couple of months before they find a house because they know they can get a house in future at a good deal. So they're going to sit it out and wait it. They could be the perfect person for your short-term let. And no one really wants to go and do a short-term let through a rental agent where it actually involves a whole lot more work than simply just clicking, thank you, yes, I'll take Airbnb. So how do you make sure that happens? Well, one, you also want to make sure in your Airbnb listing then that you are adapting or adjusting for the discounts in the long-term rentals. In other words, a stay over than a week or for 2 weeks or for a month, you're going to adjust to give a discount. Secondly, if you are going to do a longer term rent of 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, make sure that you're increasing the security deposit that you may be asking in the Airbnb listing. You don't want someone staying for a month and all you've got is a 1,000 Rand security deposit. Increase that security deposit. Remember, it's not that this gets deducted from the guest's credit card now, but it allows you to claim damages up to that amount if that happens at a later stage. And even if your client cannot pay or your guest cannot pay, which happened to me once before, the Airbnb insurance policy will cover it as long as you also just make sure that you're increasing that security deposit. So if it is that you're going to explore a longer term rental, then certainly just increase the security deposit, right? Also consider that there are people who are now realizing that they can't afford to stay in the same rental place than they were prior to Corona, right? Because their financial situation has changed. Everywhere around the world, everyone is going to feel this in some way. So they may need to look for a new place. They may need to give notice to their current landlord, and then of course they're going to need to find a new place. This again could be an opportunity for you to let out your place for a longer period of time, either while they look for their perfect place, or that they may actually end up just renting your place for the next 6 months to the year. So there are opportunities out there regarding the coming out of a lockdown phase that you can take advantage of so that you don't just become another person who says, I've got a vacant unit, I'm not doing anything, and how do I really make this work? So these are some suggestions which are really going to give you the upper edge, the edge above your competition. Get them to choose you first so that you're putting money in the pocket and you're paying your bills and you're paying all those expenses that mean that you can actually come out of this on top. And of course, for those of you who have courage, those of you who are planning really strategically and you're looking for the deals that are going to come down the road, make sure you watch my other video where I talk about those deals that I foresee coming down. We already see them coming to the market that you as an investor can actually take advantage of and actually really see this as an incredible opportunity for you to expand your portfolio, whether you're doing the rent-to-rent model or to invest. This is that opportunity, and make sure you check out that video to see, because I'm going to show you exactly how it's going to unfold and how you can position yourself and get ready to take advantage of that. So looking forward to sharing that with you.